Hey, how's everyone doing today? So today we're out in the hangar and I'm going to show you guys how I pre-flight the Pilatus PC-12NG. So as you walk up to the airplane, just look for general condition. I'm the only one that flies this airplane, but I still need to make sure that line service didn't pull it in and out and run it into a wall or something, or run another airplane into it. So just kind of look in general condition as we walk around. And then the first thing I do is I go inside and I check fuel and lights. So we come up here in the cockpit and I'll look around and make sure all my switches are as I want them. But for today, we're just going to do the outside. So we'll turn standby bus on. And we'll let this initiate. Gotta wait for the screens to come up and for all the avionics to initiate properly, or some of the stuff doesn't work quite right. Okay, so that's up. So now we can turn battery 1 and battery 2 on. And normally I do this before I turn the lights on in the hangar, so I can see the lights better. But I'll just do it, I'll walk outside and do it. So normally I can see the light come on, and I don't know if you guys, yeah, you can see that in the video. So that's the taxi light, that's on. Then the landing light, and then the wing lights, and then switch them to pulse, make sure they both pulse. And the strobe lights, be able to see the right wing and the left wing. And then the rotating beacon. And I usually look right down here on the floor. It's underneath the airplane. You can barely see the glow. I'll step outside here. As you can see right there, it's flashing. And then we can quick check the nav lights also. We've got a red and a white on the left wing. And we'll go around here to the other side. Make sure that we have a green and a white. And we do. And we can turn that back off, and we can turn standby. Actually, we'll check fuel here while we got that up. So it shows 1562. I already reset it when I landed, but we'll just reset it again. And so that's our fuel. So we would know if we needed fuel or not. Turn the batteries back off. And then we can step outside and do our walk around. I always start here at the door with this little access hatch. This is the fuel compartment. And we pop that open. And in here we have the fuel filter right here. And this is a little pop-it valve. And if the fuel filter is plugged or blocked and fuel is bypassing the filter, that'll be popped out. So we're making sure that's good. And I always check this after landing. This is one of the things I always check after every landing to make sure that it's still okay. This bar here is the maintenance fuel shutoff. It moves that valve right there. And you can't close the door without it, but you can make sure that that's closed. So we're looking for those two things specifically, and then just general condition of hoses and lines there. This next one is just kind of a general condition check. Nothing specific in here that we need to look for. Just make sure nothing's loose or leaking. We got the tire there. We're looking for tread, and make sure it doesn't look too low. Make sure there's no leaking from the strut, and make sure it looks inflated properly. And we can take a glance up here in the wheel well and make sure there's nothing damaged or any debris lodged up in there. This little mast here is one you need to look at, and also this drain valve. If you have any major leakage out of there, you need to look into that. This little door here is the oil cooler door, and then the one up in there, this one here, is inertial separator. Then we can open the cowling here. Take a look inside there. So we've got the 2 starter generators right here, and the oil level here. When it gets down to that bottom nut is where I usually add a quart. And this is another thing that I check after flight. Pilatus recommends checking it 10 to 20 minutes after flight. And I do that, and then I always double check it on the pre-flight also. Got a couple circuit breakers right there for the generator and generator controller. Make sure those aren't tripped. And got the generator controller unit there. Make sure it's in good condition. Other than that, you're looking for general condition of hoses and attachments. Make sure there's nothing loose, no debris anywhere. This here, that little wire that's going up over the top, and then you can see it coming around down here on the bottom. That's the fire detection system. It's got some gases in there that expand when it gets overheated, and then it trips a sensor in the cockpit to let you know that you might have a fire. So you can make sure that's not broken. Grind down in here, there's no debris down there. Everything looks good. There's nothing up in the front. Since I always do this, or almost always do it in the hangar, I leave the plugs on. But I'm going to take this off here and see if I can get a light on. Hang on, I'll be right back. Okay, got the light on here. And when you look down in the exhaust, you can see that little thing sticking out. That's for the engine inlet heat. And the exhaust flowing out goes in that little valve, and then on the other side it flows out. So you got ram air pressure sucking or pushing it in there, and that hot air goes down and heats this inlet, and it's really hot after you land. And so you look at that, make sure it looks good, and make sure there's no debris lodged down in there. I don't usually check the prop condition before flight, again, because I'm the only one that flies it. Nobody else should have had it running, and that's one of the items I check after I land. That way, if there's an issue, I can get it fixed before the next time I fly it. So usually I just kind of look general condition here at the prop and spinner. And then on the other side, on the right-hand side, you can see down in there, there's the outlet for the inlet heat. And that one used a little bit of Venturi effect with the, on this side, the exhaust flowing over it kind of helps suck it out. And so you get airflow of hot exhaust gas to keep the ice off of the air inlet. We'll pop this side of the cowling next. And here there's a couple circuit breakers for the second generator and the second generator controller. And this side is also the side you have all the fuel controller mess. And so you want to make sure there's no linkage broken there. And so here again, you're looking for general condition of items in here. Making sure there's no debris up in there. You got the prop de-ice controller here on the right side. Looks good. We can close that up. We got another couple of compartments here, and here you're looking again at all the connections, just kind of general condition. You can see the front of the oxygen bottle there. Some of them with a bigger O2 system have the oxygen in the back, but on this one it's in the front. There's a second compartment, and this is the where the oxygen service is. And you also have the overfill or overpressure valve there. So if this green is burst, then you need to look into the system. So here's where the oxygen tank is, and the fill port and pressure gauge. So we'll remember 1200 psi, and we'll check in the cockpit and make sure that it's similar. There's another gauge in the cockpit, and if it's different, then you might have a blockage in the line from here to the cockpit. This is a dump valve for the pressurization system, and that moves automatically, so don't want to put your hands in there. Alright, so here we're looking general condition of the boot. If it starts looking really dull, they look pretty good right now, but if it's looking kind of dull, then it's time to recondition them. And check in here the landing gear, make sure there's good tread on the tire, make sure it doesn't look too flat. I don't check the tire pressure every flight. You want to do that fairly regularly, but the pressure specification is 60 plus 3 minus 0, and that's a pretty tight limit. So if you're checking the tires every flight, you're going to have to eventually put air back in them. So we're looking general condition here. There's a little static wick right here you look for. Looking for fill ports there. Make sure there's nothing stuck up here in the wheel well. This one looks really clean right now. And then the brakes, you can tell how much pad you have left by these little thingies right here. So there's 1, 2, and there's a third one right down here. So we're looking at those, make sure there's no fluid leaking on the floor, and everything looks good there. Make sure the door is not loose, it's very secure. And as we walk out here, got the fuel fill there, it's flush. And then as I walk around, this is when I take these covers off. So I kind of take them off as we go. And this is the angle of attack vane, make sure it's free of movement, and it is. And then you got a pitot tube there. Make sure there's no blockage. There shouldn't be if you had the cover on. And then you also have on the back, there's the drain port there, and then you got the fuel pressure relief there, and another one there. You want to make sure that those are clear. And you've also got a couple temperature probes there. You want to make sure they're not broken. Then on the end of the wing, you've got the radar. This is for the onboard live radar out the nose. Make sure there's no damage to that. Looking for no damage on the wingtip. You got a couple static wicks there that look good. On this side, you've got the Flettner tab. That helps to relieve the control forces on the aileron. The roll force makes it lighter. So make sure that's good. You can check freedom of movement of the aileron. And then you're looking for general condition on the flaps and the pylons there. Everything looks good. Then you can take another look at the back side of the tire. And the wing root fairing looks great. All the windows are clean. Static ports are here. Make sure those are clear. That right there is the exhaust for the vapor cycle cooling system. And that is all under here in the hellhole. I don't check this every flight. It's a good idea to check it every once in a while at least. We'll take a look up in here. The NG has 2 batteries, so one of them is here. You can check that it's secure, which it is. And the second battery is over here, and that one's secure. Got a few circuit breakers here that you can check. Got this power junction box. And you can check condition of control cables and servos. There shouldn't be anything that looks like it's damaged. Make sure everything's good, no connections lost. You got the ELT up here, and then over here you got the VCCS, the vapor cycle cooling system. It's like the air conditioner for the airplane. And got a net in front of the aft pressure bulkhead there, and you've got some pressure relief valves up at the top. And you've also got the tow bar. If you are someplace where you got to pull it by hand, you can use that. I don't recommend it. It's not easy. That's pretty much it in here. I'll close that back up. Right, take a look at the aft ventral fins here. Those look good. Also under here is where the battery power cart connector is. So if you need to connect a power cart, open this little door and put the connector right in there so you can make sure that's secure also. Take a look at the tail. Got 2 static wicks on the outboard, 1 on the aft tail cone, 3, if you can see them, 2 at the top and 1 at the bottom on the rudder. And make sure all the antennas look good. And you can kind of check in here, make sure the cable looks good. And you can't really push it, so just kind of check that it's not loose and wobbly. And if anybody can tell me what this airplane is, this has been I've been sharing a hangar with this one for about 2 years now. Anybody have a guess? All right, back to my airplane. Up on the elevator, you got elevator trim, which I'm not sure how well you can see that, but this is an external indication, and the whole elevator moves. So you need that dot in the back on the elevator to line up with the green range in the front part there. And that indicates that it's in the correct trim position, which it should be if you reset the trim after you land. Then there's another set of static ports here on this side. Those are clear. This is the button to lower the cargo door. And as we come by here, we'll make sure there's green indicators in all 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 of those. So green, 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 green. They're all good. And on this side again, we check the, kind of looking at the fairing for the wing root and the door, and condition of the flap and the tire. Tread looks good. The strut looks good. Got the little static wick there, and the brake pads look like they're good. Condition up in the wheel well looks good. The NG is electric gear. So in the older airplanes, they have a, I'll open this for you real quick. Sorry, two-handed operation. So the older airplanes that have the hydraulic gear have this knocked out, and that's where the hydraulic reservoir is, and where the hydrogen pressure, the nitrogen bottle is for the emergency extension system for the gear. But this one doesn't have that because it's all electric. Go ahead and close the door. The legend is that the motor to close the door is the same motor that's on the Mercedes windshield wipers. Don't know if that's true or not, but that's the legend. Verify again, green, 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 and green. All right, so on this side, checking the condition of the aileron again, and this is the trim tab on this side. And we've got the static wicks there. Connections look good. There's nothing stuck up under there. Go ahead and pull this off. Check the drain port there. And check the pressure relief for the fuel system. There and there. And the 2 temperature probes. One of those probes is for your OAT sensor, one for the pilot and one for the co-pilot, and the other one is for the prop heat. If you remember from my video a couple weeks ago, I'll put a link up here for it, where I had the prop heat issue. I called the service center, and they said the most likely scenario was that these probes were not agreeing, the one on this side and the one on the other side, and that tripped a code to tell the prop that it didn't know which one to use. And so it's automatic if based on temperature. When you select prop heat on, it doesn't automatically come on. If it's warm enough, it won't turn the system on. But if it doesn't know what the temperature is for sure, then it will just turn it on. So that's the most likely scenario that I was experiencing. But they also said there's no indication if you actually have the prop heat not working. So you still need to treat it as if you might not have prop heat if you can't reset it. That's what those are down there. And then we'll check the AOA vane on this side. It's free and no damage there. That looks clear. We got the landing light. We'll take another look at the gear. Everything looks good. And that's how you pre-flight a Pilatus PC-12NG. Thanks for watching. I'll see you guys next week.